Hi guys and welcome back to my course. In this video, we will talk about callbacks and promises. In JavaScript, the code is executed line by line in a sequence. So when we run a parallel operation or asynchronous operation like fetching data from backend, JavaScript doesn't wait for the response. It simply executes the next line of code. So we give the asynchronous operation a function to call when it is completed. This function is called a callback function. So for example, as you can see on the screen, this get method provided by jQuery is an asynchronous function and it runs in parallel to the main program flow. It sends a call to the backend, and whenever the response is received, it runs the callback function. And this works perfectly fine. So if you check the console, we've got the response printed. But now let's say the call returns a list of objects, and from that object you want a specific ID to send another call to the backend to get details for a specific ID. How would you do it? You cannot write it outside like this. If you try printing console log and this list here, so if you try to run this code, you'll just get an empty list even though the response is received. So if you check here, the response is received, but still you get empty. Because as I mentioned earlier, JavaScript does not wait for the response to come back. It goes on to execute the next line of code. And you also have no way of knowing when the response was received. So your only option is to put the details call inside the first callback function. So let's give it a try. So let's print the response here. Let's make another call. Let's copy this URL. And let's pass an ID. For example, let's just create a variable here, ID, and let's give it a value of, say, 1. And again, this accepts another argument, which is a callback function. So let's say response. Let's try printing it. And as you can see, you get the response object printed. So far, so good. Now say once this data is received, you need to send another call to the backend. Say you want to get the comments for this post. So again, .get some URL and the callback function. So response and function body. Let's get the URL. So I've got the comments API call URL here. So let's paste it. Let's replace this 1 by some variable, say ID. So we can use the same ID that we used to get the details of the post. And let's try printing the result. So as you can see, we've got the list of posts, then we've got the detail of specific post, and then we've got the list of comments. Now, of course, you will have to handle the failure scenarios as well. So let's give those a try. Say console log error. Let's try changing this just to check if it's working. And as you can see, you're getting the error here. So reverting it back, everything works fine. So you will have to write the same code for all these other functions as well. I hope you're starting to notice that when you have a callback inside a callback like this, the code starts to get less readable and more messy. So this is known as callback hell. Now to avoid this callback hell, JavaScript introduced promise. So what is a promise? A promise is used to handle the asynchronous result of an operation. What it does is, it defers the execution of a code block until an asynchronous request is completed. This way, other operations can keep running without interruption. A promise has 3 states: pending, fulfilled, and rejected. Pending means the operation is still going on. Fulfilled means the operation was completed successfully. And rejected means the operation did not complete and an error can be thrown. We will talk about how to create promises in the next video. And that's a wrap for today. I hope this gave